and he's in the ditch rolled up, bike's all twisted, mangled mess, and I come upon him and he's bleeding, he's unconscious. Friends, welcome back. I'm Jason. I love fixing, modifying, tweaking, doing it myself. You know what I mean? I could go buy a thing. They make some sort of rack, probably some sort of bag that fits perfectly on here, and you could go buy the thing, of course. But I would much prefer, I much more enjoy doing it myself, if at all possible. And I think a lot of you can relate to that. That's just my style, you know. Some people like to hire other people to do jobs. Some people like to do it themselves. And that zip tie is just a smidge short. That is a lame thing. So we gotta use two. But I enjoy doing stuff myself. I love taking my gear out that I have worked on. I've personally had a hand in fabricating or redesigning or modifying in some way. I really enjoy taking my gear out and putting it to the test. There's something rewarding about that. It's a sense of achievement at the end of the day, you know, when something that you've worked on really hard, it works. It actually does what it's intended to do and got you through a difficult situation perhaps. And so that's why I like working on my motorcycle here, and I like modifying it to fit my needs. This little pouch here, this is a first aid pouch. This is my, I guess you'd call it the back SOB first aid kit that comes from Refuge Medical. And it's a great little kit, and I could put my first aid kit right here on the front of my motorcycle. So I know I've always got it on me. Like this last ride that I went on, I didn't have my first aid kit on me because I forgot it, you know, and I don't want to do that. Now, I don't have to keep a first aid kit in here. In just a minute, I can show you what else I can do with the little pouch, little handy little kangaroo pouch like that on the front of the motorcycle. I'll show you. I could, you know, I keep my tube, my spare inner tube right here. I could put a spare inner tube right there and use this for rain gear storage perhaps, or something like that. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I just know that I'm going to figure it out. And that's my favorite part of the whole process. Say hello, Mag. My beloved wife has sent me out some lunch. She is the best. For today's video, I'd like to know what your favorite breed of dog is. Maggie, if you weren't aware, is a purebred Appalachia cur, which is a completely 100% made up dog breed, meaning that she is a mutt. I have no idea what Maggie is, and mutts are my favorite breed of dogs. I'd like to know what your favorite breed is. Leave that in the comments section. I'll wait. I like mutts because you never know really what you're going to get. You get a Labrador, you can anticipate to some degree that they're going to be fairly energetic, athletic dogs. They're going to like to swim, perhaps. a bulldog, an English bulldog, that they're gonna be asthmatic and have a hard time breathing. If you get a mutt, it's kind of a surprise. That is rude, Maggie. That is rude. Now that I've got my satchel loaded up onto the bike, I could stick the first aid kit in there. Hopefully it fits no problem. Like so. And we're all set. Now the only thing I don't like about this setup here is that there is no room for the tourniquet. The tourniquet has to be strapped to the outside of the first aid kit, and I don't like that. I wish it was right here on top like that, and I could just go wha-chow, and there's the tourniquet. That's what I would prefer, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. So I'll figure out some way to store the tourniquet, maybe here, right near next to it, or I'm not sure yet. But I'll probably just end up keeping it in my pocket, to be honest with you. I could keep a little survival kit in there. I like to carry this oh shit kit around because it just solves problems, just everything from brass wire we've used to jump a fuse on a motorcycle. We've done all kinds of cool stuff using that kit right there, and that fits in there real nice. Easy peasy. I could slip my phone in there. I could have it charging here, so while I'm riding along, I could have my phone hooked up to the USB charging port and then stuck in there safely and securely, Velcroed up, and it won't go nowheres. So that's an option. What is going on over there? What'd you find, girl? It's probably about time I go through my first aid kit again and make sure everything's kind of still operational. I recently replaced the rubber gloves. I came across a guy who was in a parking lot one time, and he had been run over by an F-150. Like both tires, front and back of the truck, ran over his legs. Yeah, it's kind of gross. He's bleeding quite a bit. Nothing like arterial. He wasn't like squirting blood, at least that I could see. Nothing on the outside. So, but anyway, he was bleeding a lot. So I reached in my kit, pulled out my kit that was in my truck, a bigger kit that's in my truck, pulled it out, tried to put the gloves on. And the gloves tore because they were old. They were wore out, they were just like stuck together, glued together, probably from the heat inside the vehicle and stuff. So it's important to go through your kit every now and then and swap things out, important things like rubber gloves. Emergency trauma dressing is definitely a handy thing to have if you are zipping across the country on two wheels. Highly likely that you could need something like that. Just some regular compressed gauze, some duct tape. This is something I could probably eliminate out of here because I do have duct tape in my kit that's right here for repairs to the motorcycle. So I can use the duct tape to repair the motorcycle, and I could use the duct tape to repair myself or somebody else. Quick clot combat gauze could be helpful. Could be helpful if you've got some sort of puncture wound or something like that, and you need to pack a wound with some gauze and some quick clot gauze as well. We've got 2 chest seals in here. Hopefully we'd never need those. A nasopharyngeal airway right there. That's going to be good to go. It's still nice and flexible and pliable, so I know it's going to be fine, going to be good to go. We've got a thermal blanket, a Mylar orange blanket in there to keep somebody from getting hypothermia if they're going into shock or something like that. We've got a decompression needle, of course, a little bit of extra hose for a spare nasopharyngeal hose if we should need it, or some sort of impromptu airway if we should have to open somebody up. Hopefully we'd never have to do anything like that. And hopefully you've got training to do stuff like that. I have minimal training. I've used everything in this package right here. I know what it all is. I know how to use all the things, but what inspired me to do this little project right here is this. Last night I had a dream. It was not a good dream. I dreamed that I was riding with a buddy. I was riding motorcycles with a buddy, and he crashed. And he's in the ditch, rolled up, bike's all twisted, mangled mess. And I come upon him, and he's bleeding, he's unconscious, he's not breathing. And in my dream, I freeze, and I don't know what to do, And I don't want to be that guy. You guys don't want to be that guy. In my dream, it was an eye-opening experience. I want to make sure that I'm always the guy that that's there, ready, willing, and able to help. I've got the necessary equipment, I've got the necessary know-how, and I've got the gumption, the cojones to step in there and do the right thing and help when needed. And that's how I always want to be. That's what I aspire to be. That's the kind of man I want to be, and I think you guys can probably all relate to that. But anyway, I had this dream, and it freaked me out. I woke up in the middle of the night. I forget what time it was. It was like 3 a.m. or something. I woke up, and I was like, ah, geez, like, it felt so real that I needed to do something about it. And that's why I kind of was motivated to get this set up. So I'm not without my first aid kit again. You know, I am definitely not the kind of guy that's paranoid. I'm definitely not the kind of guy that worries about gear and kit. Like, I don't care if I go out on a trip and I forgot something, even if it was fairly important. Like, I don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. Like, what's the worst that could happen? That's my philosophy, you know, for the most part. But when it comes to something like that, geez, I don't know if I'd ever forgive myself if I was in that kind of situation and I froze and didn't have the right gear. I wasn't able to help somebody like that. So I'm making a change. I'm making a step in the right direction. That I'm inspired to do so. I need to do so. I also have a Mylar blanket. Well, had a Mylar blanket in my shit kit here, and I need to replace it because I used it for demonstration purposes in another video. So these are kind of redundancies, yes. Is it good to have redundancies? Yes, I think probably so. So maybe I probably won't change much in this kit, actually. I'll probably just keep it as is and deal with its size. I don't want to lose anything out of there, especially duct tape. I mean, come on. Gotta have duct tape. Fit inside there. Bear, if you're watching this video from Bear Independent Refuge Medical, that is something I would change. Maybe he has changed that. I don't know. The new kits might have the tourniquet all jam-packed in there where it fits, and this one almost does. Like, it'll almost do it. Maybe. No, I don't like that. It'll have to go on the outside. Kind of fits pretty nice right there. That's pretty easy to get to. Now, of course, if I'm using it on myself, that would be not that ideal because most likely I will be separated from my machine. But if I'm carrying it for somebody else, that's a pretty good spot to keep it. And that might ride there. I don't know if enough vibrations bouncing off road and whatnot. It might wiggle free. I might have to do something a little different. I don't know, but it's an idea. Good to have one on the bike and one on me, perhaps. Friends, on a future video, I'm going to be packing up my luggage here. Packing up my saddlebags that kind of ride sort of kind of like that right there. And I'm going to be putting all my camp gear and stuff like that, my sustainment gear in there. Everything that I should need to live out of this motorcycle for a week, give or take, you know, including food and all that stuff. I can have everything I need for a week solid. I could take apart this motorcycle from start to finish, essentially, with the tools that I have. I'll be able to camp out pretty much anywhere and live fairly comfortably for a week with the gear that I can carry on that machine pretty much in that setup right there. And I think that that's pretty dang cool. I don't know what you think. Tell me in the comments section. Please hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to do that. Subscribe if you have not done so already. I'll be posting this video to On3, and I'll also be posting it to my brand new Moto On3 channel, where it's just motorcycles, maybe a little bicycling in there every now and then, but not everybody's interested in motorcycles like me, and I get that. That's cool. No big deal. So if you are one of those guys that is interested in moto riding, there'll be a link to that channel in the description and in the comment section, and you can head on over there and it'll be all things Moto On3. Thanks, friends. Thumbs up, subscribe. Really do appreciate it. And until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3.